Accordions today are no different than accordions years ago. You still put them on, you still pump a bellow. All different innovations have been tried. Pumps, vacuum cleaner motors, so forth and so on. But they failed. So the accordion basically is still constructed the way it was in the early 1900s. Accordions outwardly have changed in looks. Originally, they were more or less a rectangle box. Squareness on the corners, squareness on the bellow corners, and even the keys were cut straight and square. Today you'll find them very rounded and made as light as possible and comfortable. The back of the keyboard is curved so it fits to your body, where years ago they used to be straight so it laid right across your body. Celluloid to be placed on an accordion came in sheets and it was very stiff. We would soak it in acetone and water mixed, half and half. Put the sheet in there. After about 2 hours, it would become very pliable. Well, celluloid, once it's pliable, it'll stretch a little. So you'd make designs. Once celluloid dried, it became hard again. It wouldn't shrink, but it remained where you put it. Of course, you're gluing it down. And then after that, you'd get a very fine sandpaper and sand it, and emery cloth it, and steel wool it, and buff it. If there was any separation in the meeting of the two celluloids, you can fill it in. You'd put a little acetone on a solid piece of celluloid and it would melt. And then with a little screwdriver, you could scoop it up and be like putty. You'd put it on, fill in the seam, and then once it's dry, sand it, emery cloth it, steel wool it, and buff it. The reeds are made aluminum casing, which are stamped out by machine. The sound of the reeds is a blue Swedish steel tongue that is stamped out by a machine. Now, the difference in quality of reed is the thickness of the tongue and the time spent in constructing the reed. So the more time is spent hand finishing the reed tongue to go through this slot that it vibrates through, the better the reed, the less air it will take to make this steel tongue start vibrating. So that's the difference in quality. There's handmade reeds, there's hand-finished reeds. Hand-finished reeds are stamped out, as I said, by machine, the aluminum casing and the steel tongue, and the machine rivets them. And then the workmen make sure they go through the slot just briefly and then put into an accordion. The more expensive handmade reed, the tongue is hand riveted and making sure there's little air seepage around the tongue with a hand finished reed. And you're playing a chord and the bellow's going like this, okay? You pick up an accordion that has a quality handmade reed in it, and you grab the same chord and your bellow will move very slightly. It takes very little air to make it respond. Mm-hmm. Now what takes the time on tuning an accordion is you have to file down the tip of the reed tongue to make the note higher. If you want it to be lower, then you have to scratch the reed tongue down by the rivet, and that would lower the pitch. So you're changing the amount of vibrations the reed tongue has.